think we're on the air. I think we are. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the City of Titusville's Community Redevelopment Agency meeting of September 11th, 2018 at 5:30. We have a quorum. I'm going to call this meeting to order. If anybody would like to say an invocation, if not, please join me in a moment of silence, and please remember those victims of the tragedy of 9/11/2001 and keep them in your thoughts and prayers. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First order of business is approval of the minutes of August 14th, 2018.
I'd move to approve the minutes of the CRA meeting on August 14th, 2018.
I have a motion and a second. Another second. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, any further discussion? I'm sorry. Any further discussion? No. All those in favor say yes. Yes. Any opposed, like sign, passes unanimously. We have no special recognitions this evening, no presentations. We have no old business, new business, downtown parking presentation.
Yes, sir. 2 parking studies have been previously presented to the CRA, one completed by CPH engineers during the 7th annual Sea Turtle Festival and the other completed by staff. The CPH study focused on the available parking between Garden Street and South Street and the FEC Railroad and Indian River Lagoon. The study was completed by staff, analyzed on-street and off-street spaces within 500 feet of the 3 study areas, including the Downtown Historic District, City Hall, and the Government Complex. This presentation summarizes both the previous studies and provides additional analysis of the amount of land area devoted to buildings, parking, and on-street parking areas. This presentation also provides a study of scale of the urban downtown block structure as compared to suburban development patterns in other areas of the city. And Ms. Busak is here to run through this presentation with you.
First of all, I have to apologize. I'm the 3rd string. I am neither Trevor nor Brad, who are the people who usually give this presentation. First part of this presentation discusses the difference between urban and suburban parking. As you can see, urban parking typically has smaller lots, can be a mix of on and off street parking, and is located a short distance from the surrounding businesses. Suburban parking is typically off street. There's a dedicated parking lot for each use, and they may be located directly to the business, but maybe 500 or more feet in depth. So I want to show you a comparison of the downtown. The area of the downtown is pictured as 57.3 acres. The standard block, 200 feet by 400 feet. The highlighted area was chosen, it's about 20.5 acres. It's chosen because it's approximately the size of a Walmart facility, including the building and the parking. And you can see that the distance from the Walmart parcel is about 900 square feet. So if you have to park at the bottom of the Walmart and walk through the building to get something at the dog food at the back, then you're going to be going about the same distance as the Julia Street parking lot across the city. So let's look at some of the specific downtown core areas. A 5-minute walk, which is approximately a quarter of a mile, we centered on the Julia Street parking lot. It was approximately 83 acres of land, and the footprint of the building is total about 524,000 square feet. In that area, there were also footprint of 751,000 square feet suitable for parking. The linear feet of on-street parking is approximately 1.59 miles. Also in the downtown study area, we looked at the historic district, which there's approximately a 2 to 3 minute walk. And within that area, there are 231 on-street spaces and 245 off-street spaces for a total of 476 spaces. Proximate to City Hall, again, we put the 2 minute radius up, and there are 95 on-street spaces and 202 off-street spaces for a total of 297. Just to clarify that the measurements for these buildings were taken east of the railroad track. So the downtown study area shows the government complex within a 2 to 3 minute walk. They're both off-street and on-street parking spaces for a total of 540 spaces. The information was taken from both the downtown analysis completed by CD Engineering and the redevelopment planners, and the spaces that are counted here were publicly accessible, so they don't include, for instance, the hotel and any private business. There are 540 public spaces available in that area. Next, we looked at total downtown parking. We looked at the area around the government complex, the area around City Hall, and the area within the downtown district. There were a total of 918 spaces with duplicates removed. What that means is that if there was a parking space within the overlap of, say, the red area and the purple area, that was only counted one time. So there's a total of 918 spaces in that area, 343 on-street and 575 off. Again, this did not include, for instance, the churches. This did not include the buildings that were businesses. This was publicly available. The CPH parking study was conducted on June 9th at during the Seafood Festival. During the Sea Turtle Festival. The peak demand was determined to be 7:30 at night, and what CPH did as part of their study is they used a drone to capture photographs in 15-minute intervals to determine the maximum parking demand and calculate the number of spaces. As you can see during that, peak demand, 49% of the total parking capacity was utilized. What we find in downtowns frequently is that people are accustomed in large facilities such as Walmart to walking some distance. They may try to move to park closer, but when they can't, they will park and walk, and then once they get into the building, again, there's a substantial amount of walking that they do. In downtowns, people feel like that same distance is prohibitive, and it's probably as much psychological as anything else. So this was just to compare the difference between a downtown and the more suburban type of facilities. Are there any questions?
Any questions of Ms. Busaka? Apparently not. Oh, I'm sorry.
So when you mention the public parking spots, what does that include exactly? And is there any advertisement that kind of either not there or there that lets them know they can or can't park? Do we have any information on that?
Some of the we can certainly provide that information.
Okay.
Some of the parking spaces, as you know, are well marked, and then there are others where there may simply be lines and they're not delineated as well. So especially for people from out of town,
Right.
they may say they're a little uncertain about the parking.
Okay. Because my concern looking at it and even comparing it to Walmart, I don't think that we're lacking parking. From my opinion, I think it's one, either they don't know where they can park necessarily, and then two, lighting and safety is how I mean, you may want to be okay parking like for a street party like earlier on, but you know you're going to be leaving at 9 or 10 o'clock at night and you don't necessarily want to walk by yourself back somewhere. So I don't know as like how the rest of the CRA feels, but I would be interested in potentially looking at advertising or lighting more so than maybe getting more parking at this time, just from seeing this presentation.
Good point. Any other comments, questions?
I was just going to agree with Sarah. I think there's parking down there, but I know for myself, single woman, I don't want to park over by the government complex and trot that distance by myself. We have officers there, but they seem to congregate downtown, and maybe they're patrolling the outlying areas, but I don't see them. So I would be hesitant, and I imagine there are other women and other people that would be hesitant about parking there. So maybe lighting and maybe having a little bit more of a police presence noted would be helpful.
Sounds like a good idea. Member Leedy?
I agree with Sarah and Jolynn also. I would be curious, though, my normal thing when we talk about parking is handicap. And maybe you can get back to us, but be curious to see, since you compared that downtown area, whatever comparison you want to use, Ms. Pasaka, it doesn't matter to me, to Walmart. How many handicaps at Walmart versus how many do we have in the historical area? That's what I'd like to see, if that's can be done.
I'm sure we can figure it out.
Thank you.
Member Diesel?
Just that I feel like this is kind of an instant replay, not instant, but a replay of this discussion in the past year, and the same exact things that we seem like we have plenty of places if A, you know where they're at, and B, if they're well lit or at least have some security. There's certainly places there that if you don't see little dips in the road or sidewalk, that can be difficult. So I guess I'm just wondering, is there a plan? Is it on a book somewhere? Are we moving forward with that? And this isn't accusatory. This is just for my own benefit. Are we moving forward with some sort of plan with lighting? Because I know we talked about this. I just don't remember that we've done anything with moving towards lighting. Did we?
Member Diesel, yes. Your next item with the budget includes the increased wattage. If you may recall,
right.
It was one of the items that was approved way back in the spring for the lighting that would increase lighting throughout the CRA, and particularly on Main Street.
Okay, good. Yeah, like I said, I felt like there was a replay here, but I couldn't remember where we were. So we are moving forward with improved lighting, and that would be beneficial because looking at these numbers and looking at the maps of Walmart parking, which I thought was a really good comparison, I think the biggest difference is there's better lighting in all those parking places than what we have. Thank you.
Very good questions on everything. Any other questions?
I guess my thing is when we have the events, a lot of times the vendors are set up in the parking lots, and so that takes a lot of our parking. So I'm not sure how we mitigate that. The other thing is when you're parking in right here, there is a great distance. Maybe the officers that are on duty, one could be assigned out there versus having everybody up by where the road starts getting blocked off. I know that's sort of outside the perimeter of the event, but I can understand why people would be upset for walking for safety. So, thank you.
I think you can take a look at that, right? Okay. Any other questions? I see no more lights. We need a motion to accept the presentation by staff.
I'd move to accept the presentation by staff.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say yes. Yes. Any opposed, like sign. Passes unanimously. CRA budget, Mr. Director.
The workshop was held with the downtown CRA property owners on 9 January 2018 to obtain input, concerns, and needs from the downtown property owners regarding the downtown CRA. On 13 March 2018, the CRA discussed strategic objectives for FY19. On 10 October 2018 and 8 May 2018, the CRA provided direction and advisability to staff regarding the submittal of the proposed FY19 CRA budget. Staff has developed the draft budget based on the preliminary budget discussions. It's requested that CRA approve the FY19 budget and adopt Resolution 22-2018 to transmit the budget to the City Council for adoption on 13 September 2018 as part of the adopted budget.
Okay. Anybody have any questions on the budget? I see none. We'll move right along here. We need a motion to approve the budget, and
I move to
approve the budget, yeah, the whole regular there.
approve the
Go ahead.
fiscal year 2019 budget and adopt resolution number 20-2018 to transmit the budget to the City Council for adoption.
I have a motion. I have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say yes. Yes. Any? Sorry? Oh, sorry. Has to be a roll call. Roll call vote, please, clerk.
Member Leedy? Yes. Member Diesel?
Yes.
Member Nelson?
Yes.
Chairman Johnson?
Yes.
Member Stokel?
Yes.
And Member Anderson?
Yes.
Passes unanimously. Next item is Department of Transportation FDOT permit submittal. Mr. Director.
Yes, sir. On 8 May 2018, CRA approved partnering with GTR to create a traffic signal box art program with the stipulation that the Titusville Art League be contacted to see whether the Art League was interested in being a partner. The Art League was contacted and became a partner in the program. The Art League and GTR solicited a call for artists to take part in the Arts Outside the Box program to design and create an innovative digital art for the traffic signal boxes located on US 1 within the CRA. The digital art selected by the Art League and GTR proposed to be wrapped on 8 traffic signal boxes attached within your packet for approval. Once the concept FDOT approves is obtained, the item will come back to the CRA for approval with FDOT's Community Aesthetic Feature Agreement. The entire process will take about 3 to 6 months. After FDOT's final approval is received, the request for bids for vinyl wraps can be obtained in the artwork installed on the signal boxes. It's recommended that the CRA approve the art submitted by GTR and the North Brevard Art League to be used as 8 wrapped signal boxes on US 1 between Gray Street and Garden Street. Authorize staff to submit the required exhibits, including resolution acknowledging that the city, as a maintenance entity for the signal and boxes, approves the proposed art wraps for conceptual FDOT permitting.
Thank you, sir. Clerk, are there cards on this item?
Yes, sir.
You want to call cards, please?
Kathy Musselman?
I'm sorry?
Can we have the other person come up also? Diane Cannon with the Art League.
Sure.
Okay.
Double teaming us now. Huh?
Good evening, Chairman Johnson and all council members. We were excited to be, my name is Kathy Musselman. I'm Executive Director of Greater Titusville Renaissance.
Diane DeShawn Cannon, President of the North Brevard Art League.
Very good, thank you.
And we were very excited and honored that the city staff, Tim Ford, had contacted us and talked and let us know that the CRA had approved this project of bringing art in the public places in our historic district. And so we jumped on it, and we had a contest and had, I'll let Diane tell you more about the artists and everything, but we had trouble choosing the 8, and so if there was more boxes, we could cover them. But as you've seen in your package, the 8 artworks that we chose. And Diane, you want to talk about them?
Our goal was to choose creativity, impact, for the boxes, we needed something that was going to catch attention as the pedestrians and the cars would go by. I think we've covered a variety of subjects, a variety of styles. We have 2 pieces of photography, we have 2 watercolors, 2 mixed media, and 2 acrylic that we've chosen. So we have, they're going to be, some of them are already in format, they're already can be wrapped. Others are going to have to be mirrored, and then you'll have the image on 2 sides, and then the other 2 sides will be a repeat. So that's the plan.
Great.
We had various mediums of art, so we have chosen 2 in each of the mediums. It was photography, watercolor, acrylics, and
we were hoping to get 2 oils. We just didn't have the amount of entries in that area. It was more of the mixed media that came through, so that's what we chose.
Well, what you did get looks beautiful.
Yes.
I'm sure it'll be great out there.
And that was the other thing, too, that we recognized, going with the theme of nature, space, and history.
And they're all the artists are from North Brevard County, or they're members of the North Brevard Art League. So
Beautiful.
they really are
Very nice.
chosen from this area and active in this area.
Great.
Great. Thank you. Thank you
I
very
have a
much. And thank you
quick
very
question.
much for doing all of that.
Quick question?
Okay.
I think we asked this before, but the material that is on, I guess what I'm trying to get at is why anyone would do this, but somebody may put graffiti on these things. Are they going to be able to be washed off or cleaned up? How does that happen?
My understanding is that it's made of a certain wrap material. It's non-static, and you've seen the wraps over in Cocoa on US 1, and they did seem to not have any problems with graffiti, but my understanding from the sign company is that it's made of a material that you can pretty much in most cases wash it off. But there may be sometimes, if somebody went with a big sharp object or something and decided to slice it or whatever.
Yeah.
But hopefully no one will do
Hopefully
that.
not,
We've
yeah.
not heard of any situations in other parts of the county that have had the artwork on the traffic boxes.
I hope we don't have to worry about it. Member Stokel.
Yeah, I had a question. There's only 7 on the PowerPoint, so I just wanted to clarify where there's an 8th one on our presentation packet, but I didn't know. Is that one still included?
Yes, it's still included. It may have been just an oversight.
Okay,
In
so
the
the one with the-
PowerPoint, we might have missed one.
Okay.
I thought I included all 8.
The one with
but-
the 2 surfer guys?
Oh, yes.
Okay. I was like,
Oh, sure.
They were all viewed.
it wasn't on the PowerPoint. I didn't see it, so I just I didn't know.
Oh, okay.
It's in our packet, so I
In
just wanted to clarify.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, it's
It
okay.
was
I
an
just-
oversight on my part in getting them together at the
No,
last
that's
minute.
fine. I just wanted to make sure I was getting the 8 correct on here. Okay, perfect. No, they're fine. I like it.
Okay, wonderful.
Any other questions? I see none. I need a motion.
I'd move to approve the artwork submitted by the GTR and North Brevard Art League to be used to wrap 8 signal boxes on US 1, and authorize the staff to submit the required exhibits, including a resolution acknowledging that the city, as the maintenance entity for the signal box, approves of the proposed art wraps for conceptual FDOT permitting.
I didn't say a word. You're doing good. You did
You don't
good.
want to chime in?
You did good. No. I have a motion. Do I have a second? Any further discussion? All those in favor say yes. Yes. Any opposed, like sign? It passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and we'll be
May
able to
I ask one question
now
here, not
announce-
of the ladies? Thank you.
Sure.
What's the cost going to be?
I don't know those numbers. offhand, but
We'll have to go out for bid, but in Cocoa, it was approximately $400 per box, so we're looking like $3,200, I believe.
And what's the life
8 times.
expectancy of these things?
Multiple years. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that they put on cars that you see running around town. It's a vinyl, and it lasts. It's pretty durable.
Perfect.
So.
Okay, thank you.
Item D, Mr. Director.
On 6 August 2018, the city solicited the Downtown Connector Trail Safety Improvements under bid 18B053, with 5 firms obtaining bid documents out of the 54 firms that were notified. On 30 August, there were 3 bids received by the city, and the results are listed in your packet. This contract includes the installation of 15 bollards along the Downtown Connector Trail and 4 bollards within the Julia and Nevins courts. This is to improve safety conditions by preventing vehicles from entering into these areas. It's recommended that the CRA recommend to the City Council the approval of the award of the contract to Santa Cruz Construction Incorporated of Merritt Island, Florida, in the amount of $29,997 for the Downtown Connector Julia and Nevins Court safety improvements, subject to resolution and terms by the city manager and city attorney.
Okay, any questions of staff? I see none. I have a motion to award the contract.
I should let them do it.
Huh?
I should let them do it.
That'll teach them a lesson.
I'd move to approve the award of the contract to Santa Cruz Construction, Inc., Merritt Island, Florida, in the amount of $29,997 for the Downtown Connector Trail, Julia and Nevins Court safety improvements.
Just one additional add, you're recommending to the City Council to approve.
Correct. Okay, I've moved to recommend to City Council to approve. I was going to skip that step.
You did good. Don't worry about it. I have a motion. I have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say yes. Yes. Any opposed, like sign. Passes unanimously. Petitions and requests from the public. Are there cards here, clerk?
No, no cards, but
Oh, okay. All right. Anyone like to come forward? Mr. Altiff? Name and address?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Tom Altiff, 410 South Hopkins, Titusville. I think that first I'd like to say that those wraps are stunning.
Yes, aren't they?
Just
They really
beautiful.
were.
And I'd like to thank Mr. Tullison for doing a good job with the code enforcement. Downtown Merchants did want me to bring one thing to the attention. There seems to be a question as to who is doing the enforcing, whether it's the Downtown Merchants or code enforcement. Apparently, there was some indication from someone that the Downtown Merchants had given a list of properties to be inspected. I don't think that was the case, but I wanted to bring it to your attention. I think it would just be suffice to say if a building is not up to code standards, that we're here to enforce the code.
Actually, we're here to enforce it, but any citizen can say.
Can file a complaint, and
Yeah.
Absolutely. But if citizens didn't file a complaint, and the impression is that the Downtown Merchants Association was responsible for it, that's totally improper. And I am very vocal. Everybody knows my position very well. If I have a problem with a particular building, I come here and I speak to y'all. Just like the 2 gas stations and the building on the corner of Main and Washington, which under its new owner has gotten even worse. We're going backwards in that case. What I'd like to know is what's going to be done about that building and what is going to be done about the 2 gas stations.
Well, I'm going to let staff, if you will, sir, have staff come forth, and he wants to know what's being done on those buildings. No, code enforcement. He can give you all the information.
Good evening, and thank you for the comments. We are currently in the process of code issues that are on all of those properties. One is in attempting to get a permit. With that permit, unfortunately, as people see that these things happen, I wish we could clear them up as quickly as they arrive, but unfortunately, that takes time for us. They are all in the process, actually. And since the last time I was here, it should be noted that we've actually issued 22 notices of violation within the CRA. 5 of those have already came into compliance, and we're working with most of the owners that will work with us, and you should start seeing some actions coming on the 2 gas stations. They're both absent. Well, one of them's an absent owner. We're trying to get him to take some more corrective action on that one. He has got a contract to keep it mowed and maintained, but we're wanting a little bit more out of that, and we're working towards that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
It's a tough job, I know. In looking at the reason this CRA was formed in 1982, it mentions blight numerous times, and it gives various remedies for blight. And the remedy is to take those buildings down and file a lien against the property. As I said at the last meeting, that doesn't make the city responsible for the remediation on those properties, because the state of Florida has already assumed responsibility for the remediation. If the CRA is not going to follow the ordinance that was passed, then perhaps what we should do is just rely on the marketplace to take care of everything.
Sir, I think we are following those, and there is a process when you take down somebody's building that has to be gone through, and I'll ask the city attorney to address the process involved.
That's correct. If the board believes that it does constitute a public nuisance, blight, and that the only remedy to abate that nuisance is to raise the building, demolish the building, it's a public hearing process. The property owner is entitled to come in and be heard before we enter his property, because it is trespassing, to do that. One of the first things you need to also identify is financing with which to achieve that. We have to go out and get a contractor and have the money to pay a contractor to do it. And then through the public hearing process, it will become a lien. So first, identify it's in your plan. Second, that there's a purpose and that it's a nuisance to be abated, that you have the funding, and you go through the public hearing process.
Thank you. Perhaps it'd be better, instead of spending money on facade and internal improvements, that we spend the money on the CRA funds on taking down some of the blight. Because that's really what the ordinance is all about. And it's very specific. That ordinance is very specific. It mentions blight I don't know how many times. I think we need to do more in that area.
I think we're well started on it, sir, and it was because of you coming in the first time, although some of it was already in the works, but we have taken another view, and that's why Mr. Tullison told you about all those. They're all under some sort of form that, I can't think of what the word is, but violation, that's it. I guess that wasn't what I was looking for, but that's right. And a violation, so it's being done, sir.
You know, I live in the CRA district. I have property in the CRA district. I own a business and operate a business in the CRA district. When people don't do something with their property, that's a lack of respect to all the merchants that are downtown and to the other property owners and the people who reside there. But most of all, in disrespecting me and other property owners and other residents, they disrespect this board as well.
I don't disagree with anything you said, and I live in the downtown area also, and I do have property in the downtown area, and I certainly don't disagree with what you're saying, but we do have to go through a process to get it done.
Oh, I agree, but the process has to have some type of a time frame.
As long as it takes to get it done.
Right.
Sometimes there
Thank you.
are issues. You have a question, Member Leedy?
I couldn't probably agree with you more. Excuse me. I'm still feeling what you're saying, and I seem to be saying this every month. And I was hoping the agenda item tonight would have something on it. I mean, it just seems to me that we've talked about this since January. We talked about the putting up boards, and we talked about this, and every month goes by, and I don't have a handle on, other than learning tonight about code enforcement, what this board wants to do. And there was suggestions last month that when we, in the discussion of passing the money allocation to fix up the properties, that we sent a letter out to these people saying we're being more aggressive possibly with code enforcement, but by the way, we have money available to help you clean up your property, so on and so forth. And I wish staff would come back to us in another month with a program of how to finalize and let this board discuss it. But it just seems every month goes on and on and on, and you're here. So that's number one. And number two, before the meeting, I asked Ms. Basaka on, and I'm glad that you guys are listening to us about the council. I said, can signs be a vacant building that has its sign up there? I assume the sign's up there because it's grandfathered. They don't want to take it down. So if it's reoccupied, they can use that sign. And I asked her, can she investigate an ordinance in the city where if the building's empty, we allow them to take it down, and when it becomes reoccupied, put it back up so it's not rusty looking. And she, I think Ms. Basaka said that's something they could investigate and look into. They've done it in Melbourne, did you tell me? Or, yeah. So if the board's agreeing with that, let her investigate that and come back to us and see what can be done. Now, that would take an act of the council. I think the ordinance would have to be changed, but.
Probably. I mean, not probably, yes, it would. On the first issue, we are doing all the things that have been requested by you and by Mr. Altif. You heard us talking about the process, and that's what it's doing.
Well, I hate to disagree with you all, but I don't know that. I don't see anything in my packet. I don't see any.
You just heard him say it.
I just said tonight, if you were listening, other than what I heard about code enforcement, I haven't heard anything about letters or getting in touch, outreach to the people. These are some of the things we talked about. And so, unless you guys don't think, I mean, we talked about trying to get more real estate activity going downtown. I mean, just a more comprehensive thing.
I was listening, sir, just for your edification.
So I'm sure you'd probably agree with that, wouldn't you, Tom?
I do. I do. And I know Mrs. Basaka was going to contact all the property owners to conduct a survey to determine why their buildings are vacant. I don't know if she has made any progress on that or not.
Ms. Basaka, would you like to come up and answer?
The way I remember it is I suggested that that is the way I would start, but I did not hear any discussion or determination of this board to do that. If so directed, staff would be delighted.
Council, would you like to direct Ms. Basaka?
Yes.
Anybody want to make a motion? Oh, well, I guess you can do it just on consensus.
Yeah.
You have permission.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. Thank you. Member Diesel.
I got a pass to speak in front of Member East. Member East.
What, you're making deals on the side?
I was making a deal over here.
Okay, go ahead, you're on.
So, Tom, I didn't want you to think that things weren't happening. Of course, it takes money to tear down a building, and so we're getting rid of all things, Laura Lee's building, over on Sandpoint. I talked to Steve Herron the other day. Code enforcement talked to him, and he's getting rid of the old building, and it's scheduled to go down next month, October. I am aware that code enforcement is looking at the building on Main in US 1, the post office building, or the building across from the post office, and the trailer park, the building of the trailer park. And I believe those are current, let's call them investigations at this point. So, you know, I wanted to put it in language we both understood. That's where it is. So I think the guys have been working pretty hard, pretty diligent to try to accomplish some of what we want to see in that area. They don't give us weekly updates, but I am aware that they are working on it.
Those are all in process, and I had discussions with the city manager about those particular things, especially after you came the first time and talked about the one on Main, because they did have a permit, but they never finished the work. And that started the whole process all over again. But they are all in process. Thank you.
I want to take her spot.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, we inverted. I just simply want to say that that has been an issue. I go back to the lighting and the parking as kind of a replay in my mind. We've talked about this, and I go with Member Leedy that we have talked about this a lot. However, I also understand, because I think that, again, I go back to one of my first meetings with Ms. Busaka. That was one of the biggest concerns that I had expressed to me when I ran a couple years ago. And so I wanted to address it quickly. And like everything else, I found out it's not as easy to deal with as I'd hoped it would be. Empty buildings is a problem. But I also understand that when private sector owns an empty building, it gets a little trickier. And I digress. One of the other things that we dealt with early and we're still dealing with and have some good news towards is perhaps is the Royal Oak Golf Course, which has nothing to do with this, but it just is one of those things that I wanted to really go in and let's go do this. It's not that easy. But I will say that there is progress, and again, with tonight's advisement or direction to Ms. Busaka, that's a step that maybe we should have done earlier, and maybe we misunderstood and we didn't do it. But if we can just have some progress, and I'll be honest with you, at some point, one of these negligent, absent property owners, if we could actually make one of those go away, I think everybody else watches and things get better. I don't want to say it becomes the example, but like anything else you do, if you're in a classroom or you're or a team, you discipline the one guy. It's not just about that one guy, it's everybody that's watching. It wouldn't be about that one building. It would be that everybody else says, ooh, we better get going. So that being said, I understand, and the process is difficult, and I appreciate us doing what we're doing on the process.
Just one second. I wanted to comment, because you mentioned Royal Oak. You weren't here during the first of that. And it was, originally we tried to help right up front. We gave them 180 days moratorium on anybody coming in, then we did it again. Staff put together a plan for the area as to how to do it, and completed the plan, and they rejected all of it. And then it went to another group, and I think we're on the third group right now. But until they can come up with some workable plan at this point, there's nothing we can do.
And that was kind of my stating it was such a big deal, but it was the private sector part. If somebody owns it, we can't just go in and do what we want.
Yeah, and it's in litigation, which presents another problem as well.
Right.
So until all of that happens, but neither and frankly, I don't want to take over a golf club for the city. I think it's a privately owned club for a particular area, and it's not fair to the rest of the community to be paying for somebody's golf course. So that's been an issue for a while. Member Leedy?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment, and I'm not being argumentative, but you had mentioned you'd heard this, and it's back to, I know the staff's done a great job for Member Anderson and I come in and meet with them, but if you guys have heard about this code enforcement in this building, you knew about it, you seem to know through your meetings in the city, I go 30 days without knowing, and so when somebody asks me, I go, I don't think they're doing anything, when in fact they are. So that's all I'm saying.
If I may, sir, you have the same prerogatives of anybody on this board to meet with staff at any time.
Okay.
And if I can, I'm just going to add, Kurt, I've heard about it because I'm living in that area, and all my neighbors are coming to me. And so they're all, please find out, please find out.
I'm absolutely not pointing fingers. That's not the point. The point is that if you guys, I know that city council, you meet once a month, don't you, and if those are issues that involve the CRA, remember that two of us are out of the loop.
Kurt, maybe it might be good if you guys.
No, I mean, they invite us in, but something is said, and I'm not complaining at all. It's just that it just seems to me, like Member Diesel just said, it just months go by, and we keep coming back to the same subject, and.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted you to know, it wasn't on the agenda. It wasn't something that we had a meeting to sit down and talk about, what's coming up. It was something that my neighbors were harping on me. And so therefore I come in and say, okay, guys, what's going on?
Yeah. Well, I want to make real clear, Member Ford has been very open and willing to meet with me, and I'm sure Member Anderson any time, so I'm not complaining about that.
Okay.
Nice to know there's another violator.
Anybody else would like to speak under petitions and requests? I see no one stepping forward. Executive Director's report, please.
Yes, sir. We have two information items. One, staff has rolled out the initiation of the Bicycle Boater Friendly Business Program, and it's a marketing campaign to help advertise that Titusville is the place for visitors to experience our trail and waterway networks. Second, Glenn Tollison is here to answer any questions that you may have on code enforcement. He has a staff report under my report. And then third, we have the capital projects in your chart, your CRA projects chart listed. Completes my report subject to your questions.
Okay, any questions?
Congratulations on the voter thing. That's a great program.
Member Stokel?
I just want to say I love the informational pieces about code enforcement, and I think I mentioned this last time. If we could put some of these in like social media sound bits just to put out there so people get educated, I would love that.
We started last week.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, anything else from council? Not hearing anything, we stand adjourned. Next meeting is at 6:30 of the council.